Good afternoon. I'd like to thank everyone for coming in this very important meeting of the City Council as we do the people's work. At this time, would you please stand for the invocation that will be given by Pastor Thornton Fry from Biltmore Baptist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And if we could, prior to Pastor Fry's invocation, if we could have a moment of silence. Last week, one of our citizens went on to glory and was funeralized yesterday, Mr. Clarence H. Parker, who brought national recognition to our city for his accomplishments in athletics and as a member of the Woodrow Wilson football team, and went on and done a lot of great things. So if we could have a moment of silence, Pastor, and then the floor is yours. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you for standing. Remain standing. The mayor has asked me at times to do something other than have just a nice formal invocation. He's got a name for it. I don't remember that, but it said
bromides.
Yeah, a bromide. I thought that was connected with drinking, and I wasn't too much into that. But I'm going to do a little aside now, and first of all, just a little bit of humor. If you remember in television, the programs where they had an award at the end of the program. I forget what the titled it. And they had one that was called the $64,000 question. I didn't have time to watch it, but I knew it existed. And whoever came in first at the very end, answered all the questions, got $64,000. If you didn't make that, but came real close, they'd give you a Cadillac. So that there was a man, and he was not on that program, but there's a man, he decided he really wished to please his wife. So he went and purchased a Cadillac convertible, put it right in the front yard where when she came out the front door, she'd see that wonderful Cadillac. And he had it parked there, and he went inside. He said to his wife, "Sweetheart, I've got something special for you. I want you to come to the front door and look out and see what I have for you." She came, opened the doors wide, looked out on that Cadillac convertible. She thought about the $64,000 question. She said to her husband, "What was the matter, stupid? Couldn't you answer the $64,000 question?" All right. Now, here's my little bromide, or my little aside, and this is to all the ladies on the council. This is to all the ladies who serve in clerical jobs here in our city. And this is a little Shakespeare. "When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate, wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy, contented least. Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, haply I think on thee, and then my fate, like to the lark at break of day arising, from sullen earth sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings." Let's pray. After that, bless the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me. Bless his holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Lord, by your great divine sovereign grace, the lots have been cast to us in this great land in which we live, enjoy freedom and many pursuits that grace our lives in this city, O Lord, that we treasure and enjoy. We thank you for all the past blessings that you brought to our country. We thank you for bringing us through tumultuous times, wars, and all kinds of difficulties, challenges. And some of us remember the Great Depression. You brought us through that, and we are now in a very pleasant and good place. Give us discernment to appreciate and to do our duty toward you, dear Lord, and toward all the other obligations of our life. And we pray that you would bless this council as it has the heart of the city in its hands. Bless them in all the many things they have to deliberate and decide. And give us, as a citizen of this land and city, a greater appreciation for all who serve us. And as we have celebrated military matters yesterday, we're thankful for all who served so honorably and brought victory to our land. Bless us as we continue in this meeting tonight. In Jesus' name, amen. Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Fry, I want to thank you very much, sir, and to say that Mayor Holly would have been proud with your bromide. And before you leave, this is you're celebrating your 61st year or 62nd. Would you come back up to the mic, sir?
I'm only 61 years old, but I've served in the city 62 years as a pastor.
62 years as a pastor. How about a round of applause for...
Present church, the Biltmore Baptist Church.
All right. Thank you, sir. And again, we're honored to have you here, and you anytime welcome to impress upon us anything that's on your mind. You've gained that respect in this community, in your church, and throughout the city. So again, thank you, sir. Members of City Council, would you please indicate your your presence electronically?
7 members of City Council are present.
Okay, very good. Members of City Council, you have before your consideration the minutes of a call meeting of October 21st, 2013, a call meeting of October 22nd, 2013, a regular meeting of October 22nd, 2013, and a special call meeting of October 28th, 2013. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Move adoption.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
Okay, very good.
The minutes are adopted 7-0.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk?
City Council rules require a limit of up to 5 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 5 minutes, you will see a green light. 4 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of your 5 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you please conclude your remarks at that time. Public hearing, 13-458, public hearing on use permit applications. Item A, UP 1313, downtown. Roger Rodriguez with Timmons Group is requesting a use permit to construct a 5-story building containing approximately 123,000 square feet with 134 dwelling units at 800 and 805 Crawford Street. The property owned by the City of Portsmouth and is designed on the comprehensive plan land use map for mixed use downtown. This property is presently located in the downtown D1 zoning district and is in the T-6 sub-district. Vision principle, a robust economy for working men and women. Electronic roll call, and the applicant is available if there's questions.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jonathan Hartley, Planning Administrator in the City Planning Department. Before you tonight is the first item is a use permit for the property that is essentially right across the street from City Hall. What is proposed is a 134 apartment, market rate apartment building consisting of 5 stories and 123,000 square feet. And this is a use permit due to the fact that the ordinance requires this permit where a building exceeds 45,000 square feet or a footprint of 15,000 square feet. The property is zone T6, and the zoning map is on your right on the screen. This is shows the old jug handle that used to be out here in terms of the property boundaries before the circle was put in. On the left is the elevation rendering for what you would see actually from Crawford Circle. The site is located right across from City Hall. It used to be called the Desk Inc. site by some. It's a little over 2 acres, I believe, and what is proposed is a multifamily, again, market rate apartment building. A little bit different view. This is a view taken at an angle, and it gives you an idea of the height. You can see the height of City Hall. Essentially, this building would be as high as the 4th story of this building. So the planning department gets to look across the street directly into the top floor of the building. But this photo does show you the elevations of some of the other buildings in the vicinity. This is a photo looking to the north, looking essentially across the circle to the site that's proposed for the building. I think you're all fairly familiar with what's around City Hall and the terrain and so on. It's at the intersection of Crawford and Bart. This is looking down, looking west towards Bart Street, and shows you a portion of the property that's there. As said earlier, it is a 5-story building with 134 units. Most of those will be 1 and 2 bedroom. There'll only be 14 3-bedroom units. They are proposing a parking garage on the ground floor with 4 stories of apartments, and there would be parking on the site for as many as 196 vehicles, just a little under 1.5 spaces per unit. Any additional parking that they may need would be handled with the public garages, probably the County Street garage being the closest. They're also proposing a number of amenities, including a clubhouse, fitness center, and a rooftop garden. And according to the developer, the overall investment in this project is to be about $20 million. So it'll be a significant investment into the downtown. These are the renderings of the building, and I can't guarantee exact color reproduction in all of this, but it gives you some idea of how the building's been designed. We've reviewed these designs in the floor plan and the site plan and determined that, with a couple of exceptions that were considered by the Planning Commission, it complies with the requirements of the ordinance. The other thing about this building is that it does have a 360-degree design. It's not just a facade facing the main streets and something less on the side streets. It is a full 360-degree designed building with the same designs all around. Finally, this is the site plan for the property, conceptual site plan that shows the location of the building fronting on Crawford and Bart Street with parking to the rear of that. And the site plan that you see here and you have in your packet, as well as the renderings, are included in a condition that has been suggested by staff and recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. They did consider this item at their meeting on October 1st and recommended approval with a vote of 3 in favor and 1 abstention. Considering there were only 4 members there, that was a quorum, so it is a positive recommendation. In your packet, you will also find attached to this the staff report on the Type 2 development plan review. There were 3 issues that were considered by the Planning Commission. I call them deviations from the requirements, and the Planning Commission approved all 3 of those deviations. And if you have any questions about any of that, I can speak to those. At this point, that concludes my presentation. If there are any questions, I'll try to field them.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Church.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Holly, do you have any idea of the estimated price points?
Not entirely. Some of that information, I believe, was in the packet, and the applicant can answer that
Okay.
in more detail.
All right. Is he going to do that?
You can come up.
Good evening, members. My name is Brian Revere with Breeden Investment Properties. The price points range between $1,150 to $1,600.
Okay. Good. Ms. Simmons?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, in reading the materials, I'm so excited about this project when I read of all the green initiatives you're doing and the parking, special parking for electric cars and the electric car charging station and the rain catchment and the green roof and a lot of really nice features in this building we haven't seen in others. So thanks for bringing us such a nice project.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item A, UP 1313. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak on item A, UP 1313. Members of the City Council, this public hearing is closed.
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
Okay, very good.
This item is approved 7-0. Item B, UP 13-14, Brighton Neighborhood. RDS Recycling and Disposal Solutions is requesting a use permit to install a pole sign and wall sign at their facility located at 3325 Frederick Boulevard. The property is zoned IN Industrial and is designated on the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map for light industrial. Vision principle, a robust economy for working men and women, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name again is John Hartley, Planning Administrator with the City Planning Department. As the clerk just read, this is a request for a use permit to install signs on property that is zoned industrial. Our ordinance currently requires use permits for any new signs in industrial districts, something that we're looking at in the next round of changes in the ordinance. In the meantime, however, RDS wanted to go forward to get these signs. The site is located at the end, almost at the end of Frederick Boulevard, almost to George Washington Highway, and it is zoned IN or industrial. It is also surrounded essentially by either land zoned light industrial or heavy industrial, IL or IN. The site is highlighted in yellow on the aerial photo. It's somewhat of an odd-shaped property, but narrows down due to the railroad track. This is a photo of the main building that's been on the property. There's also been some construction on the property. They've added an addition recently. And with that expansion project, they've changed their entrance. What they're interested in doing is putting a sign on the building itself, a wall-mounted sign of approximately 30 square feet. And they also want to put a pole sign, almost a monument sign. You have a drawing of what they're proposing in your packet at their entrance, which is now moved, I guess it would be west of the previous entrance. It's a little hard to find if you don't know that it's there, and that's one of the main reasons that they've asked for the sign to help trucks locate where the entrance is. This is a drawing of the sign, the freestanding sign that they're proposing. They also included a picture, I believe, that's in your packet showing the kind of sign that it would be. Similar to the state park signs, actually, is what he's proposing. With that, the Planning Commission recommended approval with a vote of 4-0. with the conditions that are in your packet, and that concludes my presentation, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, we got a speaker?
No.
No speaker?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item B, UP 13-14. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak on item B, UP 13-14. Members of the City Council, this public hearing is closed. Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is approved 7-0. Item C, UP 13-15, Cavalier Manor, Michael Perry, L.A., with MSA Incorporated, is requesting a use permit on behalf of Royal Farms to construct a convenience store with gasoline sales at 3601 Victory Boulevard. The property is owned by the City of Portsmouth Economic Development Authority and is designated on the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map for commercial use. Vision principle, a robust economy for working men and women, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Sir.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, again, my name is John Hartley, Planning Administrator in the City Planning Department. This is a proposal essentially of Royal Farms to construct a convenience store with gasoline sales. Any proposal for a convenience store with gas does require a use permit under the city zoning ordinance. And there are actually 2 use permits that are on your agenda tonight. There's this item, and then the following item also deals with the Royal Farms and their parking requirements. We're having some technical difficulties with the clicker. So, the site is located at the intersection of Victory Boulevard and Freedom Avenue. The site is currently vacant. There is some concrete pad on the property, but otherwise is essentially vacant. Across the street is the Victory Village property and the Tidewater Community College Portsmouth campus. And to the west is the Cavalier Manor residential community or residential neighborhood. This is an aerial photo of the site. The site is highlighted in yellow. Again, you can see the houses to the left or west of the site. Otherwise, the entire Victory Boulevard strip is essentially a commercial strip with commercial and light industrial uses along it, and some institutional uses. It's being stubborn. Can we go back? Just back one? There we go. This is a photo of the site taken from the intersection of Freedom and Victory, and it shows you the entire site. The site's about 2 acres, a little over 2 acres, which is a fairly large site for a convenience store. There we go, next one. There we go. This is the entrance road into Victory Village. It's called Freedom Avenue, and at the end of this road is the Tidewater Community College campus. Again, this is the intersection, and it's looking slightly west, so that you have a market on the corner and then a church property on down the street, but it gives you an idea, a sense of the development that's out there now. One of the key things about this property, the Cavalier Manor actually backs up to the very back of this property, and this is Rapidan Street, which is essentially a residential street, and at the back of the property. So these houses on Rapidan are directly behind the site proposed for development. This is a conceptual site plan, shows you the building and where the canopy would be. One of the things that's on this site plan is an entrance leading to Rapidan, and if you've reviewed the conditions, the staff suggested and the Planning Commission agreed that that entrance should be closed to protect those residents, and a heavy landscape buffer should be installed along that rear property line to protect those residences from noise and light and those kinds of things. And finally, this is a rendering of an elevation of the building that's proposed. There could be modifications of this a little bit during the site plan review and approval, but gives you an idea of what the building will look like. The Planning Commission did consider this item at their last meeting and recommended approval of the use permit for the convenience store and gasoline sales by a vote of 4-0. And at this point, that concludes my presentation on this item, and I'll try to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Edmonds?
Yes, on the adjacent corner, on the corner of Victory and Freedom, isn't there already a gas station and a convenience store there?
There is yes, there is.
So we're going to inundate Victory Boulevard with convenience stores and gas stations because there are quite a number of them already located there. I disapprove of this project.
Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mayor. John, a couple questions. What's the anticipated tax revenue?
And I don't have that on the top of my head. The applicant may be able to answer that question.
And the reason why I ask that question, I've noticed recently, and I've mentioned this previously, I think that's always an important part to have. Wasn't on the previous project either. Also, beer alcohol sales. I know we have a voluntary program where convenience store operators voluntarily prohibit the sale of single container units of beer, mostly, I guess. Have we got that agreement from Royal Farms that they would refrain from selling the single units as well?
I believe they're standing behind me, and you can ask them, and certainly you have the ability to add a condition to the conditions that reinforces that. So.
Hi, my name's Jeff Bainbridge, Director of Real Estate for Royal Farms. And the tax revenue, I don't know the tax rate or so, but it's a $2.5 million investment in the building. So we can do the calculations there. As far as alcohol sales, we do plan to sell single cans and bottles of beer. And we do that in Chesapeake and Portsmouth and Yorktown. I wasn't aware it was a contingency in the deal.
Yeah, we have a history of getting convenience store operators to voluntarily agree not to do that. And I think that's extremely important, especially adjacent to a college.
Can I ask what problems did you have with that? I mean, we don't want any issues. If it's going to be a problem if we open up, we'll stop it. But we haven't had a problem in other areas. So I guess I'd like to know what is it about this area that what negative things have happened as a result of other people selling those. It's not going to make or break our case, but we haven't had to do that in other locations. And
yeah, I guess it's there have been problems. Reference that.
yeah.
Primarily along people who probably can't afford a six-pack or what have you.
That's fine. If I will say that if our competitors, the nearby stores don't have that, we'll agree to that as well. That's what's important to Portsmouth.
Mayor, I would suggest that we try to get maybe the other ones on board on a voluntary basis. I hate to legislate, something of that manner, but I think we've had a pretty good success rate in getting convenience store operators to voluntarily do that.
We want to be a good neighbor. We want to be partners with Portsmouth. We just don't want to be at a competitive disadvantage because we're the.
And I will say that your operation is first class in appearance. I'm familiar with the store out in the Churchland area and run a first class operation.
Thank you.
So you would be agreeable to that if some of your competitors in that area would do the same?
Correct. We definitely would work with the city in that regard.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Cherry.
Thank you. At the Planning Commission, we had a discussion about communications with the university, with the TCC and with the Cavalier Manor neighborhood. Did you all ever meet with the Cavalier Manor Civic League?
Good evening. My name is Nathan Lay. I represent MSA-PC. Yes, we did meet with and presented to the United Civic League of Cavalier Manor. They asked for a few changes, incorporating access from the rear of the property to Rapidan through a sidewalk and a couple of crosswalks. They also asked us if we could inform the residents along Rapidan of the project, which we did in writing through a mailed letter. But yes, sir, we did present it.
Probably not a fair question, but did they endorse this?
There wasn't anyone that really said yay or nay, but it seemed as though there wasn't a lot of opposition from the residents.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Simmons? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get you next.
I'm coming back to the single sales. In Mr. Moody's comment, we have been very successful, and most of the convenience stores, or almost as good as Royal Farms, have complied with that request in the downtown area. But unless staff tells me differently, I don't think we have any that don't sell singles in that area. And you can't, although I'm a big proponent of no single sales, particularly in an area like downtown where you got a lot of people walking, in an area beside a university and a lot of churches in a neighborhood right there. But you got to be competitive with Wawa and the other guys. And unless we can come to all of you and do the same thing, I don't think that's fair to you. Love the project, but I don't want to single you out for no single sales.
That would be our concern too. If there was a uniform basis where everybody was on the same playing field, we'd be happy to participate.
I think that's something we want to come back to that in that area of the city. We do it for everybody of fair and fair alike.
I will give you my card, and if you're fortunate enough to get that changed, please reach out to me, and I'll work with our operations group to change that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Ms. Randall?
All right. My concern as a resident of the area there and knowing the situation of where it would be situated, I would have a concern. And I know many of the residents in that area would also, as well as the locations of the churches that are there in close proximity as to where this site is going to be. I feel as if you really need to meet with the stakeholders out there and speak with them. But this is not something that would be definitely welcome in the community there with the churches there and the homeowners that are there. There's a child care center out in the area. I'm sure some other location would be better suitable for this location. And I think we need to make sure we get the voices and the sentiments of the residents who are there in that area. They have a very strong civic league out in there, and I think this is something that needs to go to them. And I would not. Have you addressed the residents in the area? I'm a resident of the area.
Yes, ma'am. We did. We presented to the Civic League as well as written letters to the residents along Rapidan, informing them of the project and of the city council hearing.
Okay. There are 3 churches along in that area also.
We have not met with any of the churches.
I would suggest that you would. Could not support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you all very much. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing for item UP 13-15. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak on item C, UP 13-15. Members of the City Council, this public hearing is closed. Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
No, where is group?
This item is approved 4-3. Item D, UP 13-16, Cavalier Manor. Michael Perry, L.A., with MSA Incorporated, is requesting a use permit on behalf of Royal Farms to allow parking in excess of 175% of the required parking in conjunction with the construction of a convenience store and gasoline sales at 3601 Victory Boulevard. The property is owned by the City of Portsmouth Economic Development Authority and is designated on the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map for commercial use. Vision principle, a robust economy for working men and women. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, again, my name is John Hartley, Planning Administrator in the City Planning Department. This is, as I indicated, the second item associated with the Royal Farms proposal. This specific request is dealing with the provision of the ordinance that limits the maximum amount of parking that is allowed on a site without obtaining a use permit. Essentially, the intent, as I understand it, of this provision is twofold. One is to just limit oversized parking lots, and I think we've all seen those from time to time and place to place where there are 2 cars and 100 spaces, and really no need for the 100 spaces, and the intent is to minimize that. And of course, the other issue is to raise the awareness of stormwater management and the costs associated with that, and trying to minimize the need for stormwater management on sites. Again, the site is located on Victory Boulevard and Freedom Avenue, with Cavalier Manor to the west and the Victory Village and TCC Portsmouth campus to the east. The site is shown in yellow, as you saw before. And you have the site plan. What is allowed? The minimum parking spaces that are required for a development of a convenience store and gas sales would be 21 spaces. What they're proposing is 73 spaces, which is considerably more. The maximum they could have under the ordinance would be 37 spaces without requiring the use permit. The traffic consultant who worked on the parking issue looked at the fast food aspects of a Royal Farms, which is a fairly significant portion of their business, and determined that, in fact, the fast food component required more parking spaces than the maximum that we allowed. There are a couple of other factors that we discussed with the traffic consultant. One was that you've got TCC right across the street, fairly easy access to go straight across on Freedom to this site. anticipate a fair amount of traffic from that venue or that area, as well as their location near I-264 and pulling business off of the interstate. In addition, unlike some other sites that we've had, there really isn't an opportunity for off-street parking in the area. If there are cars parked if there are cars parked on street, then they're in a residential neighborhood essentially, and there just isn't a space to accommodate it. So, in conclusion, we agreed with the traffic consultant and recommended to the Planning Commission approval of this use permit for greater parking. And the Planning Commission likewise recommended to you approval with the condition that's in your packet, which limits the number of spaces. And I'll attempt to answer any questions that you have.
Dr. Edmonds.
Once again, I disagree because of the overload of parking now makes it even more of a serious problem because they would park in the neighborhood.
That's right.
And having another gas station and a convenience store right behind communities such as Cavalier Manor isn't something that I think that the residents would welcome.
Is there a member here from the Civic League that would like to speak on behalf or what actually occurred? Yes, sir.
You're right.
Yes, sir.
He's a member of the Civic League. Yes.
Good evening. My name is Joseph R. Wright. I'm chairman of the Cavalier Manor Neighborhood Watch. The representative from Royal Farms did come to our Civic League meeting, our joint meeting with the Civic League and the Neighborhood Watch, and we approved this, and we had several reasons why we approved it. Some of you all might recall that this is not the first time that we've had an application from Royal Farms. The first application was on the corner of Victory and coming off the highway on Cavalier Boulevard. We felt that would be a traffic jam in that area. We approved it, and you all did too. But we understood, we were under this opinion that it did not materialize because the owner of the property went up on the price and they moved out and moved to Churchland. Now, this time, we felt that in this location where the old Volkswagen place was, some of you all might recall that, and the convenience store across the street, the Neighborhood Watch would rather see a Royal Farms there than the convenience store that we have across the street, because we've been observing this convenience store / gas station, and we felt honestly that if the Royal Farms would be established right across the street from them, then that would solve our problem as far as Neighborhood Watch was concerned. Are there any questions?
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Ms. Randall.
Mr. Wright, he's an advocate, been out in the civic there for quite a while. One of the things that the concerns that some of us as residents of the area who's been there from the very beginning notices the fact that there are a lot of young children that are moving through those areas, and there are younger parents who are occupying those homes. And to have that kind of traffic roaming in between, because it is going to have an impact on some of our city streets. And I'm wanting to know, what are we going to put in place to ensure that the safety of the young people that are moving through that community will not be at stake? I know there's a stoplight there.
Yes.
But I think we need to ensure the safety of the residents and things, and that was one of the things I wanted to bring to your attention.
We did address that. We did address that during our meeting, and they agreed to put a pathway from Rapidan Street, and we also asked them to check with the neighbors on Rapidan Street because that was immediately adjacent to the establishment. And of course, we haven't heard anything back from that. But and to go a little further, we've even checked with the pastor of the church adjacent to the convenience store, and he think it would be a blessing also because he's having problems every Sunday, you know, cleaning up beer cans, wine bottles, and things like this from his church. And some of you all probably know that already.
Okay. I appreciate that. Just make sure we canvass the community
Right.
to get approval on that.
Dr. Edmonds.
Did you, in fact, get any, not for you, Mr. Wright, for the gentleman,
Thank
did
you,
you get
Mr.
any information from the residents on those streets surrounding where you are proposing to build this?
Excuse me. No, sir, we did not. We had phone numbers and contacts in the letters that we sent out to those residents, and we did not receive any phone calls with any questions or concerns.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item D, UP 13-16. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak on item D, UP 13-16.
Yes, good evening. My name is Cindy Johnson. I've been a resident of Cavalier Mountain, was raised out there for over 50 years. And personally, I didn't attend the Civic League meeting. I'm a member. But personally, I don't think that it's an appropriate place to put another convenience store along the area where the gentleman talking about. I'm very familiar with that area. And starting from the Wawa all the way down Victory Boulevard, you have convenience store almost on every block going down. Plus, there, like the some of the city council members said, you have 3 churches there also. Not only that, behind that, I don't know anybody familiar with Dr. Singletary. He has a very elaborate museum on that corner in the back of right on Rapidan, and I haven't heard anything about it, and I don't think that it's an appropriate place to put. Then too, we have a lot of young kids, children, in that area from Victory Boulevard coming down from Rapidan. About 3 blocks down, we have a lot of young families and a lot of young kids in that area. And we already have problems with beer bottles and cans all over the neighborhood, and I don't think we need another convenience store. I think it would be more appropriate to put maybe a restaurant or something else more appropriate for that community. That's just my personal idea, my observation. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
That's right.
Seeing no additional speakers, members of City Council, this public hearing is closed. Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is approved 5-2. Item E, UP 13-17, Highland Bitmore subdivision. Patricia Hardy requests a use permit for a family child daycare home at 20 Appomattox Avenue for 12 children aged 5 months to 12 years of age. The comprehensive plan's generalized future land use map recommends low to medium density single-family residential development, vision principles, lifelong learning community, and neighborhoods, and a sense of community. Electronic roll call, and the applicant is available if you have questions.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stacy Porter, and I'm a senior planner with the Planning Department, and I'll provide an overview of the applicant's request. The applicant's property is located in the Highland Biltmore subdivision. The property is zoned urban residential UR and is approximately 9,375 square feet and contains a one-story, 1,120 square foot single-family residence. Okay, thank you. All right. The property is fully surrounded by single-family residential development within the Highland Biltmore subdivision. Thanks. This is the submitted site plan. The applicant's one-story residence, which is denoted in the green color, accommodates child care activities within a renovated bedroom and the kitchen area. An outdoor play area is provided in the rear yard, which is approximately 4,600 square feet in size and equipped with playground equipment. The playground area is fenced with 6-foot-high privacy fencing. According to Portsmouth City Code 40.1-5.1, off-street parking, loading, and circulation, the parking requirement for a family child daycare home is 3 spaces plus 1 for every full-time staff member. The business is staffed full-time by the applicant and 1 part-time individual. Therefore, the applicant must provide 4 off-street parking spaces for the business. 4 stacked vehicles can be accommodated within the property's driveway. Therefore, the applicant meets the parking requirement. Planning staff finds that the proposal meets the requirements for a family child daycare home and the use permit standards in Portsmouth City Code Chapter 40, and recommends the approval of the applicant's request for the child care home. Planning Commission concurred with staff's recommendation and voted 4-0 to approve the applicant's use permit request. And that concludes the presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Porter, I probably missed it, but what's the square footage on the home?
The home was 1,120 square feet.
But what was that again?
1,120 square feet.
1,100.
Okay, 1,100 square feet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there, Ms. Simmons?
And this is for 12 children in an 1,100 square foot home?
Yes.
And that's allowed by state code, I assume?
Yes, yes, it is.
Mr. Moody?
Can you, okay, that you have the picture of the home up there.
I do. Could you go back? Yeah, could you go back for me?
What are the, I guess my question is, what are the standards?
Okay.
The minimums on 1,100 square foot home?
Well, the state requirements, is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that right in front of me. I apologize.
I mean, that's a lot of kids in a house that small. I would like, Mayor, I would like to see the state standards on that before I could support this.
I'd like to see that too. Could we defer this? And,
That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. We'll defer to the next meeting and get that information. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Council members, just for the sake of argument, can we go ahead and do the public hearing so the next time we do this, we can just kind of roll
That'd be
through
fine.
it?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP 13-17. If there is anyone in the audience that would like to speak, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 5 minutes to speak on item UP 13-17. And I'd like to relate to the City Council just for information. The applicant is in the audience if you want to speak to her. You want to speak? Ms. Hardy, if you would come forward, please.
Patricia Hardy. Hi.
Excuse me, just a minute. Mr. Wilson.
Members of council, I also want to remind you when you're deciding whether or not to vote tonight that this is a 2-vote item, so that if you can have your public hearing tonight, you could vote on it tonight, and then if you get when you get the information at the next meeting, which would be the final vote, you either vote it up or down. Okay. Otherwise, you'll extend it. It'll be meeting. December before the final vote on this matter.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. All right, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Ms. Hardy. Our records indicate you currently have 5 children there now.
Yes.
This is a house that you live in?
Yes.
Other family members live in the house too?
Yes.
And you want to bring in?
Well, actually, I do before and after school. So there's 12 that licensed for, but there's not 12, constantly there. That's why it's 5.
But there could be by this.
By the, yes.
By this ordinance.
Yes.
Where would you put them all if it was raining? I mean,
Yeah.
isn't that a lot?
Yes.
It is.
Even if they're infants and cribs, that's a lot.
But we only allowed 2 infants, and right now I don't have any. I don't do infants.
What is the makeup of the 5 that you have now?
They're toddlers, age 2 and 3-year-olds.
God bless you.
Okay.
That's how many are in?
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, very much.
Members of the City Council, the public hearing is closed. We're back to you.
I move that the application be denied.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second for denial, and you'll be voting electronically. A yes vote is to deny. Excuse me, Councilman.
Councilman Sherritt?
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, my question is for staff. It doesn't matter. If
Councilman Cherry.
if we deny this, what is she legally allowed to do?
I am not sure what the requirements, what the Department of Social Service requirements are for the square footage per children. I believe there is a factor, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. We typically have focused on the outside, the exterior issues, leaving the interior issues to the Department of Social Services, which has a notebook full of regulations and requirements in terms of the safety in the home for the children, the people who occupy the building with them. We would have to look at those standards to find out whether there's a ratio of square footage to children.
And if she could still keep the 5 she's doing now, she can do anyway.
The 5 she's doing now, she can do anywhere. It is not required that she gets DSS approval, but many do and are in that inspection program.
So we wouldn't be putting her out of business by now.
No, but I would encourage you to let us contact DSS and find out what the standards, if any, are on the number of kids and again a square footage requirement, and get that information back to you.
I think that's a good idea. Next question is might be for Mr. Wilson. Do we get a second vote regardless of whether we denied it tonight or not?
Yes.
Yes, but my recommendation would be...
Why don't we can defer it, though, to let's just put one meeting down the road, right?
If you defer it tonight and don't vote on it, then you still have to vote on it twice, which means you would come back to your second meeting in November and your only meeting in December. Right. If you approve it tonight and they bring back additional information that leads you to change your mind, you can deny it at the second reading, and that's the end of it.
But if we deny it tonight, we could come back next meeting and approve it.
If you deny it tonight,
it could come.
That's my question.
That's the question. It still comes back on the second reading because you don't approve the matter or deny it on the first reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. That's what I was going to say to Ms. Hardy. I'm going to vote tonight to deny because I don't have enough information. I'm certainly not a child care expert, but 1,000 square feet and 12 children scares me to death. So I'm going to vote tonight to deny, but I can read here that you've been licensed by the city since 2004, and you're obviously running a clean business, and that's great. So you get some more information to us so we'll understand better, and our staff will get us DSS regulations, and then maybe by the next reading we can turn this thing around. I just kind of wanted to explain that. This isn't anti-you doing your business. We just need a lot more information here, or I do.
Ms. Randall?
I think that there are specific guidelines in the awarding of licenses for those facilities. Let's make sure that we have followed and adhere to whatever those guidelines are so that we will know and not be picking and choosing where we are going to allow variances, because I'm sure we will find that there's somebody else in the city who's not adhering to those guidelines. So let's make sure we get all of our facts together.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
We've got a vote.
Yep.
Members of council, the motion before you is for denial, and you're voting electronically.
Denial.
This item is denied by a vote of 6-1. City Manager's Report 13-459, adoption of an ordinance accepting an additional $59,839.28 of Community Development Block Grant Program funds and accepting $10,056 of CDBG program income and $118,087 of Home Investment Partnership Program income and appropriating said amounts in the FY 2013-14 Community Planning and Development Program Fund, Vision Principle, Neighborhoods and Sense of Community, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
Thank you.
This item is adopted 7-0. 13-460, adoption of an ordinance accepting a Virginia Litter and Recycling Grant in the amount of $16,783 from the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality and to appropriate said funds in the FY 2013-14 Grants Fund, Vision Principles, Neighborhoods, and Sense of Community and Quality of Life. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Move for adoption. You had it. Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. 13-461, adoption of an ordinance to appropriate the sum of $302,640.18 in the FY 2013-14 operating budget general fund for the purchase of the Craddock Branch Library property at 28 Prospect Parkway. Vision Principle, efficient responsive government, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Move for adoption.
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. 13-462, adoption of a resolution supporting participation in the Virginia Department of Transportation fiscal year 2015 revenue sharing program for the replacement of the Churchland Bridge, northbound lanes, Vision Principles, Neighborhood and Sense of Community, and a robust economy for working men and women. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Move to adopt.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
Right there.
This item is adopted 7-0. 13-463, adoption of a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a cooperation agreement, deed, and any other documents as may be necessary to convey those properties bounded Portsmouth Fire Station Number 1, Effingham Street, Lincoln Street, and Green Street, and any associated easements or remnant and outlier parcels as may be determined necessary to the Economic Development Authority of the City of Portsmouth, Vision Principles, a robust economy for working men and women, and neighborhoods and sense of community. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Move to adopt.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you're voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0. New business 13-464, Boards and Commissions. Councilman Moody.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mayor, members of council, there are no appointments to discuss tonight. As always, we need volunteers. If you're willing to volunteer a little bit of your time to serve on one of our boards and commissions, we would certainly appreciate it. Thanks.
13-465, items submitted by council members. Ordinance appropriating $27,200 in the FY 2013-14 General Fund to provide one-time funding to the Portsmouth Volunteers for the Homeless Incorporated for transportation and security expenses related to its emergency winter shelter program. Council members, this information was updated on our webpage, and those in the audience were provided with a copy with their indexing. And we have no registered speakers.
Okay.
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you're going to be voting electronically. This item was adopted 7-0. Are there any other items to be submitted by council members?
Yeah, let me first say we've got a couple of events coming up dealing with recycling. I want to congratulate our citizens for the level of participation thus far. I think we're still operating around 50 to 55% participation, which, as we've mentioned before, our numbers and calculations are based on a 20%, and we're clearly exceeding that level. There is an event this Friday, November the 15th, from 10 to 2 at the Lowe's parking lot, and we also have another event on Saturday, November the 16th, from 9 until noon in the parking lot of Monumental United Methodist Church. And Mr. Bagley here, could I get you to just give us a brief synopsis of what these two, or would the Queen of Recycling like to come up? Yeah, let's let the Queen do it. Come on. She is.
So she likes that.
This is Miss Donna Corpus. How are you?
Hi, good evening. Thanks. We do have two events. Portsmouth was selected as the Southside location this year for America Recycles Day with AskHRGreen.org. So we're going to be in the parking lot of Lowe's from 10 until 2 for electronics recycling and document shredding this coming Friday, November 15th. Then, what's better than one recycling event, but two? On Saturday, if you've missed the first event, we're going to be holding another recycling event on Saturday at Monumental United Methodist Church from 9 until noon. But this time, we're also going to offer household hazardous waste collection. So we'll have household hazardous waste collection, electronics recycling, and document shredding. So now's the time to clean up. And this, the event on Friday is actually for businesses as well as residents. So this is a good time of year to get rid of all those things you've been meaning to get rid of because the holidays are coming and you might be getting new electronics.
Okay.
All right. Hope to
good.
see you there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Let me just lastly say I want to thank all of the citizens that came out last week to the Coast Guard Day celebration that we had here at Festival Park. It was quite a celebration, went on all day. We had that morning a healthy walk with the mayor, and I think we had probably about 25 or 30 people that took a nice stroll downtown. We deviated a little. I want to thank the police and the sheriff's department for working with us. We decided to change the route at the last minute because we had the farmers market going on Court Street, and we also had the flea market on Middle Street. So we wanted to make sure we walked and saw those areas. And I want to thank, again, everyone for participating in that. And then later we had a barbecue and slaw throwdown that one of our distinguished members up here was a judge. Did you taste them all, Ms. Simmons? Or you did? And thumbs up on everybody. And they were all healthy. And they were all healthy. Okay. And do we have the winners?
The Portsmouth Police, Best Barbecue, Portsmouth Fire Department, Best Decorated Booth.
Okay.
The Coast Guard got the People's Choice.
Okay.
Roger Brown's had the Best Coleslaw, and Gosport had the best barbecue for the restaurants, for the professionals.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. With that, Ms. Simmons.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a great segue into my weekly event activity thing, and of course we're coming up on the holidays, so just a couple of things before we meet again on the 26th of November, just before Thanksgiving. You will want to be sure and come to the Old Town Antiques and Arts Open House, which is Friday, November 22nd, next Friday, from 5 p.m. till 10 p.m. Most of the downtown shops will be open. Some will have entertainment and little goodies to eat. The Tidewater Community Chorus will be singing in the Trinity Church at High and Court Street at 7:30 for a free concert. There'll be all sorts of activities to sort of start the holiday shopping season in downtown. And then on Saturday, November 23rd, is the 29th Annual Grand Illumination Parade, which is a joint venture of Holidays in the City, which is Norfolk and Portsmouth together. We both sponsor the parade. The parade is in downtown Norfolk, Main Street, Granby Street, Waterside Drive. You'll be pleased to know your entire city council, all 7 of us, will be on the city float in the parade this year. So come to downtown Norfolk. It's at 7 p.m. on Saturday, November 23rd. Dress warm. It's always very cold.
Thank you. Well done. Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't have a travel log to present, but I enjoyed the Coast Guard event also. I was there. On the same day, VIT had an open house. I know I saw the sheriff out there. I went to that. Mike Renfro with VIT kind of put that thing together, and they must have had 2,000 people out there. But that was real nice. But I got a couple things that aren't of social nature, but important nature. With all the infrastructure construction going on downtown, I would like to see us relax some of our restrictive uses of banners. As you know, in a construction zone, people are going to have fewer customers because of the difficulty in getting to those businesses. Right now, you can't easily fly a banner advertising your business. So I would like, if there's consensus, like to see staff come back with some things that we can do to assist those businesses during those times of construction. I think it's only common sense. You know, if we're costing them business on that end, we're also costing us tax revenue. So I think that would be a good thing.
Do we have any idea of businesses that have requested to do something during the interim? Because I think that's a reasonable request, but I don't know if staff should come back. If there's someone that needs that latitude during the time that construction is in front of their site,
Yes.
I think we should be able to. Mr. Manager, do you?
Well, I think it's a grand idea, and let us come back.
Okay. All right, very good.
The other thing, Mayor, that this involves tax revenue as well. I think anywhere you go throughout our city, you notice a lot of potholes on the roads, and I know city workers try to keep up with it as much as possible. I think a lot of those are being caused by overweight trucks. I met, and I think a couple of my colleagues met a few months ago with some Chesapeake deputy sheriffs, and they shared with us that they realize over $2 million annually in revenue coming from overweight vehicles. I would like to see staff come back with a plan on us doing what we should be doing, and that's protecting our infrastructure. It's not just roads that are involved. When a truck's overweight, it can collapse water mains, all kinds of infrastructure under the pavement. And a while back, we took that away from the Sheriff's Department, but I think that's exactly where it belongs. You know, our police officers are there to protect us and get the bad guys and girls out there, not necessarily weighing trucks. So I would like, unless there's any objection, I'd like for staff to come back with a plan on how we can protect our citizens and also realize some tax revenue at the same time.
I don't personally have an objective to that, but I think we looked into this matter last year. We had the police chief to come and give us a thorough briefing of the allegation that there was that many, and our permits versus other cities' permits, and the overload process, and how all they needed to do. Chief, if you want to speak on this, pay a nominal fee for an overload process, and okay. Let me finish, Mr. Meeks.
Before
and
the chief,
I think this thing keeps coming up, but
may I?
Yes, sir.
We have been studying this matter for a couple of months. Let me give you a report, as opposed to the chief coming up and responding.
Yeah, it's not good to put chief on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. Very
if
good.
that's okay.
That's fine with me. Dr. Edmonds.
Yeah, Mayor, I just wanted to mention to our citizens and the members of council that we have members in our community from the Philippines that we would keep the Philippines in prayer because of the great catastrophe that has occurred there.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. 13-466, report on pending items, and we have none this evening. 13-467, non-agenda speakers. Excuse me. Our first speaker is Mr. James Bridgeford. Excuse me, I'm sorry, what? Where? Did we not do it?
Yep, we just finished. We're good. Okay. Mr. Bridgeford?
Don't scare me like that.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. I don't know. She didn't say stop, so it's kind of hesitance. If I may, Sergeant Arms, I have this for council. You may or may not have this information, but I want to give it to you. Thank you. My name is excuse me. My name is James Bridgeford. Live in 2002, Sawgrass Lane, Portsmouth, Virginia. Currently serve on the school board, and I'm currently serving as chairman. Back on November the 1st, I sent each council member a letter, and I had talked with each member of our school board, and we gave them a chronological order of what happened. I was then asked to speak with council members on an individual basis, and we were in the process of setting up a meeting when apparently some people felt that I needed to meet with them as a group, and I had to deny that because I was told otherwise by my board. And we try to stay together and do it superb. But in the meantime, I would like to read this letter that we sent to you and make a couple of points for the record. If I write, Mayor and honorable members of the City Council, dear Mayor Wright and members of Council, on August 22nd, the Portsmouth City School Board passed a resolution requesting that City Council reappropriate $5,041,698 in unspent end-of-year funds to the school division. Several weeks have now passed, and I am not aware of City Council's consideration of this request. The Portsmouth City School Board is requesting the city move on this aforementioned reappropriation. Working together, I know that we can resolve this issue. The children of Portsmouth deserve support and encouragement from the city's leadership. Respectfully, James E. Bridgeford. The school board is an independent body. However, we are dependent on the funding from council. Our funding has been slashed from state as well as federal and now council members. We have responded or sent you letters asking for a reappropriation. We've addressed several issues. I think we feel that we've addressed them at least on 3 separate occasions. So we're asking that if you would bring this up, be put on the agenda so that we can have some action. We have kind of frozen what we're doing because we don't want to overspend. We don't want to be in a position where we overspend. And until we know whether we have money coming back, that's the position we're in. I do not have the exact figures because I didn't bring them with me, but the request was broken down, that $5 million as to what is to be spent on. And we've already paid, my understanding, CSEP and a couple others already out of that fund, which is what we really asked for the funds to be reappropriated fund for. And that's it.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, let me ask, because I am disturbed and was when I got the letter here. On August 22nd, when you passed a resolution and you have not heard from anyone from council or staff, or you've got here chronologically transfer of letters back and forth from the staff to the superintendent or to the school board?
Yeah. That was the original request, and then we had to go back and give you some more detail, and we finally got it down to the $5,041,000, whatever it is. And I also understand that there's another request either coming or in for the capital improvement side for the fire alarm at Wilson. There's some other things we're going to be giving to you that come over that you're taking care in your construction account. So there was a separation there, and I'm not going to try to give you the details because then I'll be held to those figures, and I don't remember what all the figures are. But I find it ironic that the day I tried to schedule meetings, or Mr. White was in the process of set up meetings, that email flurry started. And as late as this evening, email flurry started again. We're dealing with the kids of Portsmouth, their education. And we try to do this with the best of our ability. There's attachments that keep being sent to us, and the board tells the superintendent what we will and will not do. He doesn't tell us. So if there's any attachments, we would like to know about them. But it is coming to a point now where we need this or we're going to add this. We need this or we're going to add this. We can't do business like that. We cannot educate the children of Portsmouth like this. We feel that we have given you the best that we can give. We got nailed for it when we thought we were doing right, but yet the city turns around and uses it for a positive. So we did it. We're negative, but you use it as positive. Again, we do the best that we can for the citizens because everyone's prospering from this. Not just us, but your children, our children. And some of us have been doing this for quite a while. Quite a while. I feel more like an educator. But I'll ask you one question that I would like for you to go back to find out. Tell us which one you spend the most on per individual. The personnel that you have in jail or your students here getting education? I would like for you to tell me that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And I'll help you to go. It's a state site jail cost report. Take a look at your costs for your jail in Portsmouth, for your regional jail. And I'm not going to ask you to take a look at mine because I'm reasonable. We're down there. Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Moody, just a moment, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Chairman Bridgeford.
Good evening,
Good to see you.
Councilman Moody. Nice seeing you again.
Good to see you. I can't speak for my colleagues, but when I got your email offering to meet, one-on-one to discuss the appropriation of funds, that's a meeting that I felt should be a public meeting because we are talking about the appropriation of tax dollars. And I think whenever those decisions are made, people need to not only see the end result, they need to see how the sausage was made and see how we came to that conclusion. So I don't think it's anybody up here who doesn't support our schools, but I just didn't think that conversation should be a private conversation between me and yourself, or I can't speak for my colleagues, but I was very uncomfortable in agreeing to do that. Now, if you want to come to a meeting, and matter of fact, we have two council liaisons to the school board, I think that should be a meeting jointly between the school board and the city council to, present the case. And I'm sure this council wants to see our kids succeed too. And I think most people on this council, as well as the TV audience, know the answer to your question. And the answer is, costs a lot more to throw somebody in the slammer than it does to educate them. So anyway, I do appreciate you taking time to come here tonight.
Okay. Is there a particular reason why we have not appropriated the funds to the school system? I mean,
all we're asking for is for you to put it on. It hasn't made it to your agenda. We're just asking you to put it on your agenda for action. We just like for you to bring it to your agenda for action on those specific, in that specific amount that we requested. And I'm not aware. I don't remember, to be honest with you, if we did the Wilson thing for the fire alarms. I mean, that's got to be repaired when it's time. And I don't remember if we've done that yet or not.
Can you speak a little for me about the freeze that you're referring to? What if you actually froze from a budget standpoint, or things that you're not doing in the school system that you should be doing because of this $5 million?
On that spending, we took, and I don't remember the figures because they just came out. I asked, I forgot to bring them with me, to be honest with you. I think we had expended something like $4 million plus in that range on CSEP was one, technology was a couple of other items, and we took funds from another pot that we were going to pay later to pay for that up front. We knew we wanted to pay for that up front. Okay. So that is my understanding on that. Now, if you want the detail, I would have to get the detail. Right now, I think I got a total of something like 4 out of the 5 total.
Okay. But you're saying in the spirit of cooperation with the new agreements that we've kind of outlined, the understanding was you gave the money back to the city council with the understanding that we would reappropriate that so you wouldn't be in the position you're in now. Is that your position?
That's correct. We know that you don't have to. We understand that. We know that you don't have to, but we did it in good faith. We gave it to you. Matter of fact, I think we transferred a total of $8 million to you. Mm-hmm. I don't have the figures in front of me, but if I remember correctly, it was something to the tune of $8 million. In other words, we acted responsibly. At least that's the way we feel. We act responsibly, looking towards getting some of that back.
Okay. And you were led to believe that you would get the $5 million reappropriated back, you and your board.
We thought we had met every requirement to do so. Okay. And apparently, and let me say this too, I can't speak for the rest of the board members, but there seems to be a thing that if we can cut a department or move something, that'd be a part of it. Right now, I don't think there's a vote on that board, on this board. And I've been here a long time with these guys. I don't think you're going to find a vote to cut anything to try to merge with the city until we can cooperate with each other. And that's just me speaking as a board member. I can't speak for the other board members. Mm-hmm. I've got 8 more. But right now, and the feeling I have from the last meeting when it was discussed, that's not an option. And if matter of fact, I'll say it. And if that's holding us hostage or trying to cut our funds because we can't do that, that is illegal. And I'll say it just like it is. We want to educate the kids. We're not trying to take taxpayers' money and use it irresponsibly. We feel that we're responsible. We just want to try to do what's best, and we're asking. We know we can't do it without you, and you know what we can't do without you. We're independent of the board, but we're dependent on you for the money. If we could be independent, we would love it.
Okay. All right, thank you. And one last question from me, Mr. Chairman. So is it the school board's position that the city council is holding hostage $5 million from reappropriating back to you for operating expenses because we've got some conditions we want you to meet?
I hear the echoing back in the back from the board members. They're saying, yes, that's as close as you can come.
Okay, thank you.
You know, there's different ways you can say it.
Okay. Well, you used that word, and I just want the same terminology.
That's the way it's been worded to me from the board. They're not, you know, and I'll be honest with you. The one thing that we had talked about it, and we thought it would be, you know, have a meeting with the city council. And to be honest with you, everyone said no because it would be a public ridicule. And I would like to thank Councilwoman Simmons for responding so quickly because she was willing to meet. And to be honest with you, this wasn't to ask you for a vote. This was to give you the information for me to meet one-on-one to say, we would like for you to respond to this issue. That's all I had to say, and I would have been finished. Okay. Mr. Moody, it's not a thing, and that's one reason I couldn't meet with the mayor, because the last time we met to discuss something which wasn't private, we got accused of having a secret meeting. So that's why I was scheduled like this, to give you a packet and a letter from me asking you to please put this on the agenda for a vote. And that would have been it. It would have been less than 5 minutes.
Dr. Edmonds.
But respectfully, thank you, and I can appreciate what you said.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Hold up, Mr. Bridgeford. I agree. Speaking from my perspective, I don't see why we can't reappropriate you the money, but there might be some other particulars that I'm unaware of, such as the meeting that you were trying to get with one-on-one. I was unaware of that one as well, or it slipped through the cracks of my mind. But I don't believe in holding the school board hostage, because you are elected officials just as we are, and you went through the process of turning in the money to be reappropriated. From my perspective, I think this is something of an urgent matter, because we're coming to the close of the year and you haven't received any reappropriations yet. So I'm going to ask if there's any way possible where we can get on this and rectify this problem as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moody?
Well, I actually...
Put your mic on.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, didn't have a question, but I keep hearing this, that somebody's being held hostage. I've been to all the council meetings that you've been to, Mayor, and I haven't seen anybody on this council advocate holding anybody hostage to give the school board the appropriate amount of money that they need to educate our children, Chairman Bridgeford. And I'm sure our city manager, and speaking for me, I want to hear his take on it, as well as our finance department, and have this discussion publicly so we can get this resolved. Excuse me. It should never be them against us type of situation.
No, it shouldn't.
I mean, we got a common interest, and that common interest is the children of this city. We all know that if they aren't educated properly, they're going to end up in that jail that you and everybody else agrees that it costs more to house them there than it does to educate them properly so they can get a job in the workplace or go on to college. But I haven't heard anybody mention the word hostage, and we need to withhold money until this is done. What we need to do is make sure the money gets to the classroom, gets to the kids, and it's not used for other things other than getting the kids a proper education.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So what I'm hearing, this is just a matter of having this on the agenda of our next meeting, and we will take care of this matter. Is that what I'm hearing? That's not, Mr. Meeks, you want to speak to that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll get you, Ms.
I think we have a manager, and we need to let our manager come back with his opinion and let the board then discuss it and then come back. Is that all right, John?
That's fine with me. I think there's been some reckless throwing of words around. I think there's a difference between being held hostage and being held accountable.
It is.
And the word trust, I think, is an important word, too. I think you would agree that the phrase, let's spend this money before the city hears about it, is like fingernails being scraped across the blackboard. And that's the type of phrase that's been used since July 1. That doesn't go anywhere to build trust. You expect to get a fair return on every penny that you spend. The $5.2 million equates, it's no small amount of money, it equates to 8 cents on your tax rate.
Oh, that's right.
And I would think you certainly require it of me. You would expect me, if I was to recommend that you spend the equivalent of 8 cents on your tax rate, to explain where that money's going. I don't get a lot of comfort when I hear we don't need all that money. And that's been said to me not one time, but 2 times.
So, Mayor,
We don't need
that's
all
my
that.
suggestion, is
And I'll be glad to bring this back to council.
and discuss
I
the
think
work
that
session.
the term that should be used here is accountability. Accountability brings you outcome.
All right, Ms. Randall?
I think one of the things that disturbed me from the very beginning, which was one of the motivating factors for me running for city council, was because we were being shortchanged in education in terms of funding. And I'm putting it out just as it was at the time. And we worked hard to ensure that we had appropriate funding in education to uplift the abilities of our children in there, and also to attract teachers who were capable, caring, and competent enough to ensure that our children could really take their learnings and become productive citizens in the city of Portsmouth. We have 2 elected bodies, and there's no reason that we cannot work in a cooperative manner for the benefit of not only the future children that are coming in our divisions, but also to ensure that they would be in a position to be the future leaders in our city. And there is no reason that cannot be done. It's not us telling them how to lead the schools. They are the authorities there. They are the ones who know the needs of our children, and they're the ones who will come up with the specific needs that they're going to need for their educational training. Coming from education, I know, because I served in that role. I also served in the hiring of staff to get them in some of these positions. Now, because we may be in the positions that we are now, it does not mean that we have all of the answers. Both of these boards are elected, and they ought to be in a position to let us know what the needs are based on the children that they receive every day. We are not in the classrooms. We do not know what the needs are there. It seems as if we can come up with some common grounds and rules and regulations for governing the future leaders of tomorrow, because we aren't going to be here. And maybe that's a good thing. But the thing is, what we need to do is be realistic and ensure that the children have the things that they are going to need to lead whatever generation is left here to whatever goals that they have before them that they want to achieve. But with 2 elected bodies not reading from the same sheet of paper, that's not good for anybody. The people, you control who serves on the school board. You control who's sitting up here in the seat. And somewhere we ought to be able to come together to ensure that whatever the educators need, Mr. Bridgeford, to ensure that our children are indeed the future, but they are prepared to do what they need to do to lead us. And we ought to be in a position to ensure that as the gatekeepers for the funding that come into the city, that they have the resources that they need to do it. I will not compromise on how I feel about that, because I came from the classroom where we had nothing. And I've seen where we've come as a result of having the capable leaders that we have as elected officials. And I think we ought to be fair and open enough to ensure that they have what they need to move forward, because all of us are going to pass on. And what they're presenting are going to be the ones that's going to be sitting in our seats. So I don't think we need to get so comfortable to the point that we cannot communicate in open communications with one another and said, this is the way we need to do it to ensure that you, Mr. Bridgeford, and the board that's elected there by the people have what you need to lead the children to the next generation. And it's not we controlling you. You are the educators and the leaders to do it. We are the sources of revenue to ensure that you have what you need. And it disturbs me to hear us having this kind of conversation. I see the children every day, and I'm going to always be an advocate for the children. And you can't do it unless you've been there and walked in the shoes of the educators who are meeting these children every day. And I get very emotional just thinking about it because I love the children. And I'm going to see that we try to get what the children need to be the leaders to sit in the seats that some of us are sitting in now.
Mayor Wright, members of council, thank you.
Hold up, Mr. Bridgeford. I concur with what Ms. Randall has said, because our most important entity, as far as I'm concerned, are our schools. If our schools fail, we all fail. And so it's important that we make sure that money is appropriated and that you guys have been elected to be the overseers, just like we are elected to be the overseers of city matters, especially funding, but trusting you all enough. If there's been a loss in trust, we need to reestablish that and move forward, because the more we hold back on not doing that, the worse the situation can become. And our children ought to be our most important matters, and our teachers, because quality gets what we're able to get from what we have in our hand. If we want to get quality teachers, we need to make sure that we are able to draw those quality people in. I don't care what we're building, what's going on, that has to be the number one concern of all of us, not only from the city council's perspective, but from you all's perspective as well, who were elected just as we are. And you're not puppets, but there should be some accountability, making sure that when we ask for things that they are there. But other than that, we are here to work with you and not to knock against you.
Well done. Mr. Moody?
Well, one final comment, Mayor. You know, this council has two liaisons to the school board. One of them is Councilwoman Randall.
That's for sure.
And one of them is Councilman Meeks. So I would suggest that in those roles that both of y'all can get with the school board and set up a meeting, and maybe we can at that time hear from the city manager as well as the superintendent and members of the school board. Once again, this is a conversation that needs to be a public conversation, so it does have a degree of accountability and a whole lot of sunshine, because we're talking about 8 cents on the tax rate, and that's a lot of money. So the public needs to know what the thought process is. They need to see what that needs list looks like as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mayor Wright, members of council, thank you for your time, but I'd be irresponsible of me if I didn't say this. Every penny that we spent in the past, and I know what this is all about, has been accounted for, whether it's direct or indirect support of our school system. There has been no misappropriation of funds. Every dime has been accounted for, and it's out there in your schools for our kids. Thank you.
And you've done a fine job. Thank you, sir, and good night. Madam Clerk?
The next speaker is Mr. Matthew Hartman.
Good evening, Mayor Wright, Vice Mayor Cherry, members of council, and City Manager Rowe. My name is Matt Hartman. I live 305 Broad Street. I serve as the Ways and Means chairperson for the Port Norfolk Civic League. 2 years ago, we started the Booyah 5K and Little Monsters Fun Run, a fun Halloween-themed race and food drive to showcase the beautiful neighborhood of Port Norfolk. This year's run was held on October 19th and was a great success. We raised over $3,600 for the Port Norfolk Civic League and the Southeastern Food Bank of Southeastern Virginia. and also collected 1,200 pounds of food for distribution from Port Norfolk Church Food Pantry. The food bank financial donation provides over 5,600 meals, and the Civic League is using our funds to purchase a new basketball hoop for the Port Norfolk Rec Center and a chess stone table and benches for Fountain Park. We had 242 registered runners from Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, California, and even one from the United Kingdom. I'm here tonight to say thank you to all the volunteers, neighbors, and people who helped us along the way, including Sheriff Watson and the Sheriff's Department, Captain Ron Hyman and the Police Auxiliary, Lieutenant Scott Agee and the Portsmouth Police Department, Renee Spratley and the Parks and Rec Department, Wendy Viola and the Marketing Communications, and all the great folks at the Visitor Center. Also, Mayor Wright was kind enough to come out and participate this year. Thank you. We're looking forward to growing the Booyah again in 2014 and finding more ways to give back to our community. I have some shirts for you as well. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Excellent.
Okay.
Look forward to next year.
Okay.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Clyde Toller.
Mayor Wright, Vice Mayor, Chair, Mr. Moody, Councilor Moody, Councilor Marlene, Councilor Meeks, Councilor Elizabeth, and Councilor Edmund. Mr. Rowe, Mr. Wilson, good side now. Good afternoon, Clyde Toller, 1029 Blair Street. Well, the Veteran Day Parade went nice down at Virginia Beach. I didn't see you. But anyway, Portsmouth got on the map. When we came to, we was on 10, 13, and all. And they said we've been coming ever since 1948. So I did hold up that part. But I'm glad to hear let Mr. Rowe take care of this business. He's good at it.
That's right.
Let him handle it. That's what he's for. But anyway, getting back to the Veterans Day, I don't blame people for don't want to come to Portsmouth. Now, I see y'all in the paper again. I asked y'all don't do that no more. I saw you again. And you see the good Watson, Sheriff Watson, didn't I tell you he's going to win? See, we can't keep on bringing these people out the wood, putting them in place what they're going to do for us. They ain't going to do nothing. So, good Sheriff Watson with us again. Now, I have been young once. You know that because now I'm old. You can see that too. So I tell you that I'm old because you can look at me and see I'm old. All right? I have seen the wicked in power spreading themselves all over everything. And I have seen a lot of backbiting on this council and all. That should stop. Work together. We, the citizens of Portsmouth, is getting sick of this. Now, you see what we did? We got out. We put Sheriff Watson back in office. Now, if some of you don't start doing what you should do and stop fighting among yourselves and disrespecting one another, we're going to get rid of some more of you.
Come on.
But I keep hearing you talk about the children of the school. If you care so much about the children of the school, why are you putting that mental clinic right there in front of the school? Hey, think about what you're doing now. Go back and regroup. I know there's a lot of empty buildings. I ain't going to cost you a dime, and I can tell you where they're at there. All you got to do is remodel them inside, and you can put this menthol clinic out there in the business over there by Culpeper. You know, Red Ada place? There's a building back there. Go back there and rent it. It's not near anybody's home, anything. If you care so much about the children, stop taking my money, all our money, the taxpayer money, and doing bad things and then come up and always crying about the children, the children. Stop using the children. They're the one that's hostage. And we, the old people, the one that's holding them hostage with this council asking for more money. You should stop that. You're doing the children a bad deal. And as soon as some kid, it's getting dark now. They're going to be standing out there to catch that bus to go to school, and it's dark. So if some kid come up raped, we all going to be out there looking for them if they get missing. Don't put that methadone clinic there on High Street right in front of that school. Now, your coach say It's got to be 1,000 feet from the school. All these people that go around creeping, grabbing little children, they got to stay 300, 500 feet from the school. Now, you going back on your own code. If you're going to put that methadone clinic over there and near the houses there, this is wrong. Look, go back and get yourself together and let's do something better than what we're doing. You are not a Superman, so you can go back and say, I'm sorry for what I did. Now, anyway, back to Portsmouth. I don't blame people from going to Portsmouth because, look, Chesapeake, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, they treated us veterans like kings and queens. Portsmouth wouldn't even give you a drink. Not even a piece of bread or a hot dog. These merchants in Portsmouth should be ashamed of themselves. I wouldn't even bring nobody over here for anything. I went to a couple bars. My Jack Daniels 7 still charged me $8. Had my cap on, Vietnam veteran, World War II, Korea, they make no difference. They hand me your money. They gave nothing. This is sickening. This city has got to do better than what we are doing. And look, let's get together and stop embarrassing us. And that we citizens, I want to thank every citizen that came out. See what you can do, citizens, when we get together and vote for somebody and put them in. We did a good job, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
We did a good job with the governor, too, didn't we? And they ain't going to look at this Tom mess again, ain't they?
Yes.
Ain't you people happy with that?
Yes.
We should be.
Yes.
But in a way, I was hoping, well, if you shut it down and these merchants don't make no money, good for them. Do they come up here to this council and do anything? No. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's right. Come on.
Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy. I live in the Woodbine Farm section of Churchland. Principles of Liberty 2. A free people cannot survive under a Republican Constitution unless they remain virtuous and morally strong. Principles of Liberty 4. Without religion, the government of a free people cannot be maintained. Virtuous and morally strong people believe in a creator who made heaven and earth. God created man in his own image. Since we have been created in the image of God, we need a code book that lists the virtues to remind us of our duties and responsibilities as warriors of God. During the 5th through the 15th century, the Knights of the Round Table had a code book of virtues. Their purpose was to protect the Lord and King they served. Our purpose is to serve God in the same way. Like the Knights, we are in a constant battle between good and evil. We need to go out and battle evil by our oath to uphold the values of our faith with loyalty, courage, and honor. We are called to live pure lives of holiness. We need to be pure of heart, mind, word, and deed by reserving sexual activities for the sanctity of marriage, a lifelong commitment before God between a man and a woman. We are called to speak truth with integrity. We need to live moral lives that demonstrate an inward motivation to do what is biblically right, regardless of the cost. We are called to right the wrongs by our service to God. We are to use our God-given time, talents, and money wisely. As we follow the Lord, we become responsible members of our community and the world through our selfless acts that contribute to the well-being of ourselves and others. These principles are to encourage, empower, and inspire men to live as our Creator's intended. In 1250 A.D., a manuscript written by William Peraldus described the various pieces of the knight's armor. The armor symbolized religious virtues of chivalry or civility. The armor protects the knight when he engages mortal combat against the forces of evil, lust, gluttony, greed, idleness, anger, envy, and pride. The virtues symbolized by the helmet is hope of future bliss, the shield, the trinity of faith, the armor, charity, the lance, perseverance, the sword, the word of God, the banner, the desire for the kingdom of heaven, the horse, goodwill, the saddle, the Christian religion, the saddlecloth, humility, the reins, discretion, the spurs, discipline, the stirrups, proposition of good works, and the horse's four hooves, delight, consent, good work, and exercise. We, the people, need to put on our armor of God like the Knights of the Round Table to fight the evils that are corrupting our Constitution. Our government is not the church, but trying to take over the role. For example, The United States Housing and Urban Development Department controls our city's government. HUD intends that the city's plan will encompass affordable housing, adequate infrastructure, fair housing, enhancement of civic design, various economic development combined with human development, and a continuum of care for helping the homeless. The intent of the Housing and Community Development and Planning Program is to strengthen partnerships with other jurisdictions and to extend and strengthen partnership among all levels of government and the private sector, and expand economic opportunities for every American. Portsmouth Redevelopment Housing Authority has approximately 3,000 Section 8 and public housing units. They are in the process of adding more units to the list. Social service provides SNAP, Medicaid, FAMIS, TANF, energy assistance, foster care, and other benefits. Parks and Recs provides a Head Start program, before and after school care, plus meals and snacks from the government. Currently, the Truxton residents want the city to build a recreation center in their neighborhood. In the old Truxton plan, 1979, it states, the churches in Old Truxton should continue and, if possible, expand their leadership in community activities, seeking to coordinate their programs with those of the School and Recreation Forum. No constitutional authority exists for the federal government to participate in charity or welfare. The taxpayers of Portsmouth have had enough government overspending of our money. We need to clean house. Our representatives are not representing the people. We, the people, need to be knights in shining armor to protect and serve our Lord of heaven and earth by upholding our Constitution. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Mr. Mark Godalda-Gutrovsky.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of council, and fellow citizens. I wish that the members of council who have found how politically expedient it is to play hardball with the school board would have played hardball with CCDI, because there was a case where you gave away taxpayer money, those of you who voted on those two occasions, to an organization that was behaving in a manner that I would only describe as criminal. They took out loans on property that weren't theirs, did not inform you that they were doing it, and I've yet to see a Commonwealth's attorney's report on prosecution for fraud. Now, I'm a believer in playing by the rules. When Ms. Randall was speaking and I was wanting to yell, "You go, sister," I kept my mouth shut, but I did stand up, because there's no rule in council against standing up and silently showing your approval. So I didn't applaud, I didn't shout out, but I was standing there for you, Councilmember Randall, because you were on the money. And speaking of on the money, give it back. When you voted on your budget last year, you appropriated a lowball amount to the school board, and when they managed, through austerity, through depriving the system of needed funds, of money that you had appropriated to them, so they wouldn't be in the position of exceeding their budget, because unlike council, and I've said it before, but I got to beat this horse again, they have no fund balance. You hold the fund balance. So they dare not cross the line in terms of expenditures. They either have to balance to the penny or they have to come in under. Well, they came in under. Give it back. I expected, when I spoke on the budget last year, that they would get to spend the money you appropriated to them. Give it back. I don't want it going into your slush fund. I don't want it going for some project like, Sports Hall of Fame, which has drawn our tax dollars for years, $500,000 a year in operating expenses to what is a private institution in this city, and has an ongoing commitment of $500,000. And I didn't speak to the $2 million that you appropriated for construction costs. No, this is a public purpose. This is for the good of our city. This is so people won't tell me again that they really liked Portsmouth as a place to live, except for the school system. Give it back. That's where I want it to go. That's where I, as a tax-paying citizen in this city, want to see the money that you appropriated, inadequate as it was. I want it to go for education. I want every penny to go for education. They returned it to you. Give it back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Meeks.
Two questions. Do you believe the school system should be one of the incubators for our city?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about accreditation?
I believe we need to be accredited.
Okay.
And I don't believe we're going to get there by squeezing every drop out of their budget.
Do you agree that it's their report card of their accreditation?
I believe that there are different scales for grading, and I don't know that I agree with the scale that was used for coming up with that report card.
I know you're a big believer in transparency and accountability.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all we're asking. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Well done.
Give it back.
Mr. Lamar Price.
All right. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow council members. I want to start by saying that as a citizen of Portsmouth, and my name is Lamar Price, I live in Churchland section of Portsmouth. As a citizen of Portsmouth, I was never so ashamed to be a citizen of Portsmouth when I read the article in the paper a few weeks back of the council members attacking our own mayor. I thought it was very irresponsible, very irresponsible. I thought it didn't show any, I thought it showed that there is an agenda that is being worked at this time. And as a voter, as a citizen, it really didn't sit well. And I don't agree with everything that you guys come up with. I don't agree with everything the mayor says. But I do know, as a disabled veteran who served my country, there's a code of conduct that we should all follow. You should have a respect for the person who is over you in authority. I don't agree with you guys going to the paper like that and really putting this city's business out there as if somebody did you wrong. And the reason I say that it was a person, it's an agenda behind it, because your gripe was unfounded. Because at the end of the day, the Department of Transportation agreed to open the tunnel. So whether you were there or not, why not just applaud the man and say thank you for carrying out our interest? But no, we want to slam him under the bus and say he's a runaway train. I don't agree with that. I see the agendas that's going on here. I come to these meetings. If I don't come, I see them on television. And I can tell you, it is a runaway train in here. And it's obvious that there's quite a division amongst the council members. There's quite a personal agenda, and I don't agree with it. As a citizen, I'm here. This is my state of the city address. So what I'm saying to the citizens of Portsmouth, pay attention, because I've learned a long time ago. Don't listen to what a person says, but watch what they do. And you guys have not yet addressed the issues that are really pertinent to this city. Where is really the important issues when it comes to our children and when it comes to the homeless? Those who are the least among us, those of us who are in positions of authority, position of influence, we are supposed to act upon that. I think it's so hypocritical to sit here and question the integrity of the school board, who is doing the best they can, and to hear that come from a man who didn't even go through the hiring process or open process, but be just given the position. Come on. Come on. That's hypocrisy. Let's be real about what it is. Let's call it what it is. I'm not here to make friends. I told you before, when I come up here, I'm the voice of those who don't have one. And I'm telling you, Truxton and Churchland, we got petitions going. We got citizens who have children who care. We're tired of you guys not addressing the issues of the rec centers. It's beginning to become it just looks bad. And I don't agree with some of you guys that are here. I can tell you right now, I can see your agenda. I want to ask you a question. When you ran to the newspaper and you decided to undermine our leader, what does that say about you? Do you really think that your show of lack of respect for that seat would earn our confidence that you can sit in that seat? If the Bible that I read says that if you're faithful over the little things, then you become the ruler over much. So if you cannot be faithful where you sit and work together, how can we expect you to do the right things if you do get that seat? You need to look in the mirror, some of you. You really do. It's gotten out of control. And I speak on as a citizen of Portsmouth. I hope that all of the citizens will look at this and see this and begin to wake up. Because next time it's going to take more than just a T-shirt. It's going to take more than just a little placard in the front yard to gain that seat. If you truly don't care about a specific demographic in the city, then say it. But don't keep pulling our legs. That's all I'm going to say this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moody?
Well, it's no need for Mr. Price to come back to the podium, but well, thank you, Mr. Price. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
You know, the rec center, just about every council meeting, we have somebody speaking to the rec center. This council, at least the majority of this council, cares about rec centers. In fact, we tasked the city manager to come back with a plan to implement the recommendations of the study that had specific recommendations about a rec center, and that study was a result of citizens, a very extensive civic engagement process. Did you go to any of those charrettes?
Well, I didn't actually go to it. I'm aware of the study. I see where you're trying to go, but my thing is, I'm noticing how easy it is to approve a $20 million project here at the waterfront for really something that's not going to benefit those who, those children. I understand, and like I said, I'm all for the beautification of Portsmouth.
What project is that?
We're talking the apartments, the luxury apartments across.
That's private investment.
I was told that it was being funded by the city.
Well, my point is, before you indict this council, or at least I guess 6 members of this council, I would suggest very strongly that you get a copy of that rec study, because that was a result of citizens' input all across the city. It was probably the most extensive civic engagement process, other than the comp plan back 5 or 6 years ago, that I've seen. And it made recommendations. Now, this council doesn't have to follow every recommendation, but we've tasked the city manager to come back with his plan on how we would implement some of those. Now, the recommendations were, one of the recommendations was that a rec center was needed in Churchland area.
Sure.
I've lived out there since '79. There's a lot of ball fields, but not many rec centers. The other thing it recommended was that we make a way for our schools to open up their facilities to recreation to children, and also churches as well. So there are a lot of recommendations in there. The other one was that we repair what we have, and there's some valid recommendations. That, you know, you just can't throw the book aside and say, well, the citizens who attended these charrettes, you know, let's throw their recommendations away. You know, we're willing to build a rec center. Rec centers. I think every community should have a rec center.
No, I agree.
I also know that we can't afford that, and I'm not going to mislead citizens in that direction. You know, somebody, a member of this council, came on the eve of adopting the budget and said, well, I want to add $5 million for a rec center. Well, $5 million, that wouldn't build you a third of a rec center. Virginia Beach just built a rec center. It costs about $25 million. So, you know, if you're going to do something, do it first class.
Sure.
And it does take money. Some of these projects that people say, well, you spent money here, spent money there, are like a $20 million project that is private investment. And we need more private investment. That investment will generate more income from the city where we can do some of these things. I'm with you on the rec center, but you know, don't indict us that we don't care somehow, that we don't like children. We like children. We like rec centers, but we also like to make sure the tax rate is something our citizens can afford.
Sure.
We have a lot of senior citizens in this city. Some of them struggle to buy their own prescriptions, pay their light bills. So. You know, just think about that when you're advocating that.
Well, I mean, I've been in Churchland, you know, grew up there since 1974. And as a child, I didn't have a rec center to go to growing up there. Now, the problems are different. You know, the gangs, that's something that didn't exist when I grew up there. I mean, you know, but my gripe says, again, with the city of Portsmouth, I mean, we're at the highest tax city. I mean, out of the 7 cities. I mean, we're the smallest. As a disabled veteran, it hurts me to find out other citizens that live in Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, they get a break on their personal property tax, and yet the disabled veterans that live in this city don't. So I believe there are things that need to be brought up, you know, and communicated and brought to the table.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, since the 1970s, and even before, in the communities of Truxton and Churchland, I believe that is enough time to have built a rec center by now. I understand you may not have the budget now, but I'm just saying it seems like that continues to be pushed to the side and pushed to the back, and other issues and other agendas brought to the forefront. And that's the only thing I'm saying. Can't we get a balance here to where we accommodate not just the businesses and the well-to-do, but can we look at the common man like myself and those who don't have a voice and say, you know what, you guys have issues and needs as well, and we need to accommodate those also. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Frances Jones.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. My name is Frances Jones. I live at 600 Yorktown Avenue, here in the lovely city of Portsmouth, Virginia. And I'm here today to talk about several things. One, I have to tell you about an experience I had. On the 28th of last month, I had a visitor. The visitor was supposed to arrive at 5 p.m. at my home. When I went to the door, she has not arrived yet. There was this individual sitting dead smack in front of my door. I looked at the person from behind. It was a gentleman. Now, you know we have safe haven in my neighborhood, and every other people that's there. So I go, now, Lord, you're going to make this man move, because I know for sure that my visitor cannot cross because he's dead smack blocking. So what do? Do I call 911? They'll say, oh, no, he's not disturbing the peace, so we won't come. I did the best thing I know how to do. I sent on the SOS. I said, dear Lord, in the name of Jesus, will you please move this man? Because he just didn't look right. He had the brown pants, a plaid shirt, sitting there like he's lost. Then the guy drove up on the bike, and he said, hey, man, I thought you was in jail. He go, yeah, man, I got out yesterday. I said, Lord Jesus, this man in front of my door, and my visitor is coming, and she's a female. What do I do? So I said, the best thing I know what to do is pray. I said, Father, before this lady comes, will you mind move this man from in front of my door? So he sat there a few more minutes, and guess what? He got up. I said, thank you, Jesus. He got up. I said, amen. And guess what? He went down Yorktown. He turned down King Street. Do you know what that dastard that man had to do? He pulled out his private part, and he peed on the street. Now, guess what? This is what you guys has put in my neighborhood that I live with every day. But yet, we want to protect the children. But you don't care up there. You knew because I warned you. I told you. But it falls on deaf ear. So then he went around, so I called my neighbor. She said, Fran? I said, yes. She said, hey, does he have on the brown pants and plaid shirt? I said, yeah. She said, honey, follow him. You'll go to the crack house, the drug house. He walked around and around and around. Lord and behold, the lady came and he wasn't there. I was grateful. But this is what I live with. But it falls on deaf ear with the consul and everybody else. Why? Because you simply don't care. So since you don't care about me being a taxpayer, a homeowner, a worker, and a voter, guess what I'm going to do for you? You know what they call recall? I know how to recall. I know that Mooney and I know that Randall is up in 2014. I know that Edmonds and Meeks and Simmons, one of you, up in 2016. I know how to vote. And do you know one thing, council members and the mayor? Do you realize this has gotten to be the show on Tuesday nights here downtown Portsmouth? We got people in the street says they shouldn't put it there. Since we're listening, they say keep on fighting. You think this is a game when you play around with people's lives? Where you put the danger of our children and everybody else, where you can put that center someplace else, where you have put in our neighborhood drug addicts, murderers, rapists, and everything else. It is not a dumping ground for your people that you don't want to be bothered with. It is not a dumping ground. And it shall not be a dumping ground, because just like I sent an SOS to the Almighty God, He's going to move it. Either He move it or we're going to start recalling you one by one, because we have a voice in Portsmouth. You don't have to listen to us, but we have a voice. And I'm sick and tired of coming down here, hearing everybody else complain, and it falls on deaf ear with each and every last one of you like you just don't care. Well, guess what? This sister has had enough. This taxpayer has had enough. And I'm most certainly sure Portsmouth voters has had enough.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Athena Jones.
It's interesting because I continue to listen to what's going on in the city of Portsmouth. And like I said last time, people are listening, and they're tired. You know, I had the opportunity to work in Washington, D.C. as a legislative advocate for people who didn't have a voice. And I was charged to listen. I was charged to understand what their stories were and to make decisions that were best for the people that I was charged to advocate for. I took that job very seriously. Senators, House of Representatives, I even had the opportunity to have dinner with the president because I dared to listen. This council seems to not understand that in order to be a good leader, you need to be a good follower. Well, how is that possible? Because when you train people to have the courage and the understanding that are under you, if you aren't there, someone else will take up that cross, because then that issue will not die. You guys are doing it in a way where you guys didn't even learn to be followers. You just want to be leaders. I keep hearing about the education, and again, a couple of sessions ago I talked about how we want to use education as a platform yet again. But yet we still want to build that methadone clinic 490 feet away from those kids we are crying out for. We still want to continue to create a one-stop shopping center for issues of the community that is continuing to be pushed by the city manager. People see the agendas. And it's interesting because I do respect the positions that you guys hold. I also respect the words that come out of your mouth. And it was interesting, again, to say, yet again, I had the opportunity to see your interview, Councilman Moody. And the lady specifically asked you, do you believe this should go in the community? And ladies and gentlemen, in here and in the city of Portsmouth, Councilman Moody said, no, it should not. But yet he was able to vote for it. We talk about education and the issues. We talk about the problems of this city, but we cannot even get our stories straight. We're concerned on one hand, but then our agenda is clouding our issues. So then what happens to the community? People get tired of not being heard. People get tired of feeling like they don't have a voice. I know how that feels. So what do? Crime rates go up. Prostitution goes up. Drugs go up. And that's what's happening in our communities. Because people aren't being heard. Because places like Truxton, since 1979, they don't have a place to call their own. These issues continue to happen because people aren't being heard, because they don't feel empowered. Well, something is changing in the city of Portsmouth. Something is changing. It's time for a change, and people are tired of it. So the blatant derision, the continuing overriding of conversations, and the obvious dismissal of the people in the community is duly noted by the people of the community. Because the only thing we have here is a vote. The only thing we have here is the opportunity to tell you. So we'll take these opportunities. And if you don't listen, Mr. Rowe, it's just a job for you. You can be removed. You do work at the discretion of the council. Cherry, Moody, even Wright, everyone else, you work at the discretion of the community. And if you don't listen because your agendas are clogging your ability to make sound and reasonable judgments, then you will just be removed. It really is that simple. Those are the facts. If we do not like who is in office, we vote against you. It's that simple. So there are real issues here for you now, because the community is listening. And these issues that we have aren't going away. But if you don't listen to them, you will. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Moody?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Jones,
yes.
You kind of closed with, and those are the facts. Well, the facts is the methadone clinic was not voted on as an issue by this council. That was presented to us at a work session. When I said that also, the police chief later came back with a very comprehensive crime report from the area. Mm-hmm. And also the city manager had facts about that clinic. You know, that clinic is currently downtown.
Yes, I do know.
It's located adjacent to a school, around the corner from a church, and has been there for a number of years. And guess what? Mm-hmm. It really hasn't created any problems.
I do understand that.
Do you understand that?
I do.
That's the facts?
Well, and the facts is Oasis.
Do the facts matter for anything?
I do apologize.
Do the facts count? That's all I'm asking.
Okay, and you're right. And do the facts count that the prostitution levels still exist in our area? Does the facts count that drug addicts still exist in our area?
Well,
over 2 months, excuse me, sir, over 2 months ago, the SWAT team came to our neighborhood to clean out a drug house. Those are the facts, sir. It doesn't take away from the facts that there is a domestic violence center there. It doesn't take away from the facts that 3 o'clock in the morning, you hear women screaming and shouting and cussing out people on a regular basis, sir. Those are the facts. So the perception of reality may be a little different depending on where you live or where you stand or sit, sir. Because from my perspective, those are the facts.
I will defer to the police chief's facts.
Well, and that's great, but obviously, and what a great opportunity because he doesn't have to live amongst that.
Yeah.
And so that's a grass top issue. That's the word we use in government. But what I'm talking about is a grassroots issue, sir. So when we want to talk about the grassroots issues, then I'll speak with the police. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, is that it for our speakers? Okay, let me just remind the public and everyone here that on Wednesday, November the 20th, at the Renaissance Hotel at 6:30 p.m., we'll be having a public hearing on a disparity study that the city of Portsmouth is going to undertake. So I want to invite all of our citizens and businesses and anyone that would like to be heard to please show up Wednesday, November the 20th at 6:30 p.m. at the Renaissance Hotel, and we will have that public hearing there. And with that, Mr. Meeks.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make sure the people watching here, they understand that the methadone clinic is not there yet. These problems are already occurring there. And that the police chiefs are very aware of it. They're trying to put a stop to it. But the methadone clinic, like Bill said, it's adjacent to a school, and that is the facts. And to touch on one other thing you said, Mr. Rowe, in my eyes, is doing a great job as a manager. And as long as he continues, he has no worries about his job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you. Good night.